Views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of Blue Ridge PBS, the Virginia Department of Education, or the Virginia Society for Technology and Education.
On this edition of Activated Learning, we travel to the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research in Danville to learn how they're preparing students for careers we don't even know about yet.
Blue Ridge PBS, in partnership with the Virginia Department of Education and in collaboration with VISTI, the Virginia Society for Technology and Education, is talking to leading educators about what gets them energized and how technology is being used to inspire student engagement. This is Activated Learning.
How are you guys kind of designing what you do to prepare kids for careers that don't even exist yet?
Basically, what we do is we give middle school students across the Commonwealth meaningful hands-on experiences in industry-relevant pathways.
We want to make sure that all 20 of those students that come into our career and technology education courses, our CTE courses, have had some relevant learning experience that affirms and tells them, this is what I'm interested in doing.
Dr. Julie Brown and Jake Taylor, welcome to Activated Learning.
Thank you so much.
Well, we're so excited to be here because, first of all, this is a beautiful place, and I always enjoy coming here, but also what you're doing is really fantastic. And unlike a lot of our shows where we're visiting a school division that's doing something cool, but it's only in that school division, your programs are impacting kids all over the state. So, Julie, just before we get into the conversation about Go Tec, tell me where we are and what is the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research?
Great. Well, Tom, the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research was established, back in 2002. We've been in this facility now, hard to believe, for about 20 years. Our mission here at IALR is economic transformation, and we accomplish that through 5 divisions. Those divisions include our conferencing services. So you've mentioned the facility here. We do operate a conference center. Economic development. So we're interested in creating jobs here in the Commonwealth. Through manufacturing advancement. Also through our applied research division. And then Jake and I represent just a small portion of our advanced learning team here.
That's great. And Jake, you are among other things, involved in Go Tec here. For people who don't have any idea what Go Tec is, because we haven't talked about it yet, what's the elevator pitch for Go Tec?
So Go Tec stands for Great Opportunities in Technology and Engineering Careers. And basically what we do is we give middle school students across the Commonwealth meaningful hands-on experiences in industry-relevant pathways, so pathways like advanced manufacturing, and those activities that we do with students are supposed to spark interest, get them engaged, getting them wanting to learn more, and also starting to build skills and concepts that help them continue down those training pathways.
And also, it's not just here. So talk a little bit about that. Your program is in many divisions, many schools around the state, right?
Yeah. So the lab that you're at here today is mainly for training our teachers that are embedded in each of the schools that we partner with. So our labs are in middle schools, currently in 52 middle schools across 35 school divisions in the state. This fall we'll be in 73 middle schools, and kind of our coverage area right now is that 460 corridor and south. But yeah, it's exciting to think about how many students get impacted, how many schools are involved, and it's much bigger than just ILR.
Sure. And Julie, and you guys can both chime in on this, but why middle school?
So that really was the innovation. We, back in 2018, a lot of our education partners all gathered together and had a conversation that we were standing up programs that were responding to business and industry needs, but we weren't seeing a lot of the young people coming into some of those programs. They weren't being exposed to some of the new technologies that manufacturing today is very different than it was back in, 20, 30 years ago. And that's what the culture here kind of understands. So really changing the mindset of students, of parents about these tremendous career opportunities, but doing that earlier on in their career trajectory, starting in middle school. So that middle school piece with exposure, because that's when students start making decisions. And at the same time, the Virginia Department of Education implemented these academic and career plans. So a requirement that by, I think, the beginning, Jake, of 8th grade, every student had to have an academic and career plan in place that a parent had seen and signed off on. And so the question was, well, what are we doing in advance of that to inform and expose young people to the careers that are available in our region? And not just one school, but to do this work at scale.
Right. And that's the thing. You have, I visit a lot of schools, and I visit a lot of technical centers. They're generally in high schools. They're usually really cool, but they, kids have to get exposed to it a little earlier. As Jake, as you work with middle school kids, what do you see from them as they are introduced to? I know you guys do some virtual welding and all kinds of other things that we can talk about, but they're coming out of an elementary school environment where it's been very much more focused on reading and writing and science.
The core subjects. Yeah. So I think what's neat is the amount of the variety of the content that we have in the course lends itself well to make sure that we're reaching all of the students. So you mentioned the virtual welding machines. Some of the students light up when they do those activities the first time and start learning about that career path and demonstrate some of the welds on that machine. But it's not for every student, and not every student is getting all jazzed up about welding in those classes. And they know that there's going to be other things during that class that they're going to get a chance to experience.
They're not committing to a whole semester of welding.
Exactly, not a whole semester of welding. So they weather the storm, so to speak, while they're in that welding module if it's not quite their cup of tea. And then there's 8 other opportunities for them to investigate other careers.
Let's talk about
excited.
what those are. Yeah, what are the what's somebody going to get exposed to in this program?
Absolutely. So there's 3 types of engineering that we introduce students to. We do electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and manufacturing engineering. We introduce students to welding, metrology, the study of measurement and how measurements applied in multiple industries. We introduce them to machining, precision machining. We introduce them to automation and robotics, IT coding and networking, healthcare technologies. And one of the things, as a result of expansion outside of our current footprint in Danville and Go Virginia regions, is how we break our work down. A little different than the way the VDOE superintendent's regions are. But as we've expanded into other regions, different regions of the state have different industry sectors where they're trying to maintain workforce or develop workforce to attract, different industry to come in and support existing industry. So we have precision agriculture. We have different activities to where students are doing manufacturing activities specific to the manufacturing that's taking place in those regions. So our manufacturing engineering unit has been one where we kind of tailor it to the regional needs. So if it's food and beverage manufacturing, we're making sure we're focusing on that. If it's pharmaceutical manufacturing, there's a focal point on that.
Because once you have the principles of what you're teaching, you can kind of put it into anything. I want to take a step back, Julie, and just talk a little bit about why Danville. I know historically Danville lost, a lot of manufacturing jobs in textiles. It bore the brunt of, changes in the tobacco industry, furniture. All of those things were in this area. And one thing I really like about the way the community of Danville has responded is it hasn't just dried up and gone away. There's been a lot of really cool things going on here. But maybe talk about why this center is here.
Right. So we get that question, I think, quite a bit. Why Danville? What is going on down there in Danville,
First of all, let me just say,
Virginia?
if you haven't been to Danville in the last 20 years, you really should come. The downtown is really doing some cool things. The parks, I know you guys have a whole entertainment district thing going on. So it's not, if you were here 20 years ago, you need to come back, right?
Oh, absolutely. Again, we talk about transformation quite a bit in this community. And I would say this facility, the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research, it is a building not many people expect when they come to Danville, Virginia. They're shocked. And that some of the leaders in our community, that's the statement that they wanted to make to this region back in when we saw some of these jobs disappearing in the 1990s. And then for the next decade, when we saw legacy industries leave our region. the leaders in the community wanted a facility, some visible representation that we're going to pull ourselves up. We're going to reinvent ourselves. This is, it's not a short-term play. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Right.
And so this work that we've been doing here in this region, it's been 3 decades in the making, but it is really starting to take off with announcements by Microporous locating at the mega site at Berry Hill, some of the training that we're doing through our Advanced Training in Defense Manufacturing, our ATDM program, where we're training, the goal is up to about 800 people, I think, this year to support the defense industry and the submarine industrial base. So Danville is, again, we work hard, we have a strong work ethic, and again, the ability to collaborate and partner with others, to bring people together, to put a vision out there that everybody can see their part in it and be a part of. It's just been truly phenomenal.
Middle school kids, 11, 12, 13 years old, when they hit the labor market, even in just 4 or 5 years, the labor market will have changed, right? How are you guys kind of designing what you do to prepare kids for careers that don't even exist yet?
Yeah, that's one of our things that kind of keeps us up at night, making sure that we're staying out front of it. So we do have a lot of industry contacts that we engage with on a cyclical basis. We have an advisory council that is composed of industry partners, and we meet with them on a regular cadence to get feedback. So if there is some big technology shift inside of their particular processes and their facility, we're finding out about it as fast as they find out about it. And we can use that to be able to adjust and make changes as we move forward.
And how are you design? I love instructional design. So when you design one of these modules for these kids to go through or learning plans for kids, what are the things that are common to all of them?
So the things that are common to all of them is we want to make sure that they understand the income potential, the training that's required to enter an entry-level job, and also how do they matriculate and actually move up inside of organizational charts inside of those industry sectors. So we want to make sure that we demonstrate it's not all about that entry-level job, that they can get more training, more experience, move up the ladder, so to speak. So every single module has that career, really all of the details about their career in it. The other parts of the instruction that are the same is there is a hands-on activity where students are not just on paper and pencil, they're not on just a computer screen clicking away, but they're actually doing an industry-relevant exercise to some degree.
Right. Nothing worse than I don't want to cast any aspersions here, but when you look at you go to a career class and the kids are just doing worksheets, that doesn't give them a taste of what it's going to be like, does it?
Right. Yeah. So knowing that most of our focus is on when we embed this equipment in the classroom, it's knowing how that student is going to interact with it, what those experiences are going to look like for them, and how the teacher uses all their best practices to make sure all of the students get those outcomes that we want from it.
Julie, I know this has been several years in progress, but most of the kids who've come through your program haven't yet gotten into the graduate thing. I know that everybody always wants, when they're funding something, to hear what your impact is. Has that been difficult for you? And also, are there ways that you are looking to measure the impact of this program so that you can say to somebody, well, here's what we're doing?
Right. We're knee deep in that right now in some of the data mapping and the evaluation. And Tom, to your point, yep, the students are just now starting to graduate. If they came into this program in 2018 as a sixth grader, 2 years of COVID kind of put a little speed bump in that, right? So we had to pivot very quickly through those couple of years to try and find relevant, again, maybe technology simulation experiences that may have mimicked what they were doing in that classroom. But again, we're just starting to see some of those students graduate. We're capturing those stories. So some of it's qualitative, but we're establishing data mapping and an evaluation tool to help us understand, well, what is the return on investment, but also manage expectations. And as Jake kind of talked about, this is not about tracking pushing 100% of young people into welding careers. Right. This is helping young people have some type of relevant hands-on experience that exposes them to welding for them to say, I'm really good at this. Or I like this piece of it, or I don't like that, or say, I'm not interested in that at all. That actually is a positive outcome for us, because when students move up into their career and technology experiences through their high schools, those courses are limited. There may only be 20 seats, right? Only 20 students can come into that classroom. A worst case scenario for us is a group of 4 students, and 2 of them, they all enroll together because they want to be together. And then 3 months in, 2 of them find out, this is not what I thought it was. I don't like this. And they drop out. You can't backfill that seat. So we want to make sure that all 20 of those students that come into our career and technology education courses, our CTE courses, have had some relevant learning experience that affirms and tells them, this is what I'm interested in doing.
This is activated learning.
Anywhere that we're building barriers, I just want to think about where we can remove them and how we can make spaces better for kids.
Many vendors have sort of realized that they should be prioritizing accessibility and usability in their tools.
Subscribe to the podcast on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Blue Ridge PBS Echo TV.
So for the school divisions in your regions that are participating in this, sort of, what's it look like on their end? Here you have this, these outside folks coming in to give career and technical education to their students. Kind of, what do they have to do? And then also the flip side of that is like, what's in it for them? I'm sure there's some investment on their side, but also like, what's the return on that for them as educational facilities? Jake, you want to what do you when you hear a new school's coming in, like what's that partnership look like? You guys can both talk about.
Yeah,
this.
Absolutely. So I mean, I guess from a programmatic standpoint, as soon as we partner with them, we help identify lots of different things. We help map out the classroom and understand how they need to outfit that classroom to have it ready for all the equipment that's going in it. We work with them as soon as they identify a teacher to place that teacher in our training program that gets their feet under them with all things operating the equipment, delivering the instruction, navigating the curriculum, all the best practices with delivering that to the students. From a larger programmatic picture, it helps school divisions kind of identify where some deficiencies may be with their training pathways. So if we're getting students interested in welding pathways in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, but they no longer have welding opportunities for students at 9th and 10th, how do they adjust some of the things they're doing to keep that pathway continuous for student experiences through their division?
What do you expect as an administrator? What does somebody have to do if we have this assistant superintendent of technology somewhere watching this saying, "Ooh, I want to do that, but I wonder what I need to do."
So I think for us too, it's helping them understand where does the magic happen. So where's the magic with this? It is the scale. So we've gone into some regions, and as Jake mentioned, we kind of think through Go Virginia regions. There are 9 of them here in Virginia, and we are in going to be 5.
1 through 5.
1 through 5. We talked to them about great for one school, one division in your region, but the magic happens when you can get multiple divisions doing this work together. The magic happens not just for students, but it happens for economic development. We haven't really talked about how we leverage this program. This is absolutely about exposing young people through a hands-on, minds-on learning experience, but it is very much about economic development opportunity and partnering with prospective business and industry and your existing business and industry. They're all struggling.
Everybody's looking for workers, aren't they?
Find talent, or if they're coming to Virginia, they want to know, where am I going to source?
Right. If I'm going to build a factory in your or any kind of facility in your region, how far are people going to have to travel to work there? Do you have the people we need? Do we have the skills we need?
And it's one thing, Tom, to tell that prospective business and industry, oh, we can find those workers. We have these great post-secondary institutions. Virginia's community college system is world-class. We can show them those things. But it's a different story when we say, all right, you're wondering where your workers are coming from. come with me to a middle school. I'm going to show you where your workers are coming from. And we take them to a middle school where we've invested about $130,000 in equipment. They're coming into that classroom and they're going, okay, I see Lincoln and Miller welding equipment. I'm seeing Haas machining. They're seeing the same brand names that they use in their business and industry. And we say, yeah, we're teaching 11-year-olds how to use this technology in a safe way, in a business relevant way, and in a way that helps support mathematics skill development, that helps put them on a career path. That is a completely different story for economic development. And that's a game changer.
Right. It's not up to them to train these people. I mean, they'll have to train them, obviously, but it's not up to, they have to train them how to do their job at their place. But the kid is going to come in, or the young person is going to come in with a base knowledge.
And the opportunity as well, if that company is bringing a new technology or something that's newer to the market, to tell them they can absolutely have voice and influence in what we are putting in front of our middle school.
So this isn't a one size fits all. We're going to put this program in your school, and that's it, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's probably very, very powerful when it comes to them. On your website, and I do a little bit of research for this show, not a lot, but when I'm doing a little bit of research, one phrase that kept coming up was hub and spoke. This is a hub and spoke model. This is a hub and spoke model. I've heard that before, but I don't know that I've ever had anybody really explain to me, what do you mean?
So that model that was started in 2018 for the hub and spoke was really around some of the impacts we were seeing from our precision machining programs. And so Danville Community College had a legacy for 4 decades producing machinists and 100% job placement, just a tremendous program, tremendous still today. So the idea and where we were seeing some challenges or changes with business and industry is because of technology innovation. Now those machinists needed this skill. And now, there's this new additive thing, 3D printing that we're hearing about. So we were adding concepts that the community colleges needed to cover, but there was no space for that. So some of this was in the development of excellence around precision machining, adding on something that was called the IMT program, Integrated Machining Technology, which is an add-on to a traditional community college machining program to really get to those concepts that business and industry was telling us that they needed, but there was no space. So at the same time, this, again, a hub, this center of excellence, maybe in a particular domain. If it's machining, if it's going to be in something that supports biotech, things that we're seeing emerge out of the Roanoke region and some of those partnerships. So this idea of hub, excellent level training, and then what are your feeders? What are your spokes that are then feeding into that and doing that regionally at scale? So Go Tec has kind of adopted that model, I would say, with the training labs. So you ask part of, our partnerships with regions as we expand is we ask regions to identify for us what we call an in-region coordinating entity. Who do we partner with? Like what's that organization in your region that we can partner with? We know a lot about the Commonwealth of Virginia, but we don't know all the local politics. We don't know some of the economic development interests that are specific to a region. So we try and identify a partner that we can work through. We look to see, do we have scale? Do we have 4 divisions in a Go Virginia region that are looking to implement this Go Tec initiative? At that point, if we do have 4 divisions that are interested in that, we think that is justification to put a training lab within that region, to staff it with 2 institute employees to make sure there's some consistency, because we want to protect the Go Tec brand as well. That's our challenge,
right? If somebody's going to do this program, it's right. You've demonstrated that it works in a certain way, and you want to make sure that that model is kind of followed, right?
Yeah, the integrity of the program, and the Go Tec is a trademarked brand for the Commonwealth of Virginia. So again, when people see that logo, when they hear, oh, you have a Go Tec program, there's consistency in what that looks like, what the model is. And Jake, I don't know if you would agree, but I think that's some of our challenge right now as we are trying to build this beautiful thing that is responsive to regions, but also to maintain the integrity.
It is, because I think with a variety of partners in different regions of the state, depending on the level of awareness or who they heard the Go Tec story through, it can quickly be whispered from ear
Might
to
be
ear.
a game of telephone, right?
A little
Game
bit
of
different.
telephone,
Yeah,
right,
it can,
right.
and it's, I guess it's natural for someone to want to think about how it could benefit them the most. So we try to manage those expectations when that does come up.
I want to talk a little bit, because you've mentioned a couple times, like bringing teachers here who are going to be doing this in their local school division, local school, local middle school. Because we have teachers who watch and listen to this podcast who might be thinking this would be really cool. Describe what that training looks like. And again, what's in it for them? And also, what can they expect to get out of it?
Yeah.
When somebody either comes here, or I don't know if some of the trainings happen in other places, but just describe what that professional development side looks like.
Sure. So from a big picture perspective, that training is ongoing. It's never day 1 through day 10 and it's over.
So you're not just showing up
process.
the week before school starts and getting your training and going back and then hopefully looking at that information later in the year.
So we do that, and we manage that through placing teachers in cohorts. So when we identify a new school and a new teacher, we have a very prescriptive way that we introduce the content and a specific sequence that we go through in teaching the equipment, operation, safety, all of the things. So we're very deliberate in how we engage with those teachers, because we want to cover as much as we can with them in as short a time as possible.
Right. What's the time frame? When they come to a place, what's that training look like?
Yeah, so in the summertime, we do a 3 to 4 day training window for brand new teachers. And in that training window, we go over all things curriculum, and then we take some of the low-hanging fruit as to not really overwhelm, because you can drink from a fire hose with a lot of this information in the lab. So we try to make sure that we communicate that with teachers, that it is a process. You're not going to learn all of this in 3 days and be the best there ever was on day 1 of starting the school year. So, and that's okay. The other thing that we try to communicate with teachers, and it's tough because as a former educator, I want to be the resident expert.
Wait a minute, you're not a former educator. You're an educator.
Former classroom educator.
Yes,
so,
there you go.
So you got to make sure that you're comfortable with having a student ask you a question about a piece of equipment, a career, and not knowing the answer off the top of your head. And so we try to make sure we're very deliberate in communicating that.
So it's not just technology; it's pedagogy a little bit too.
It's a lot of pedagogy. It's a lot of when you develop that rapport with students, when you learn along beside them in some of those instances in a way that you never would as the content expert
Sage
of the
on
room.
stage, yeah.
Exactly. So
Right.
so there's a lot of good things that have come from that. But our training is ongoing. So we do a 3 to 4 day each summer with every group, every cohort of teachers. We do ongoing touch points throughout the year during their professional development days where we know they're dismissing early, days where they can get a sub, which has become a little more difficult in recent years than in previous. But we know that, so we try to manage that the best we can. But in addition to just the training, there's instructional support as well. So when you think about 9 modules of instruction that Go Tec covers, it's tough for any one person to be a resident expert on all 9 things.
Right.
So we welcome teachers to ask us for instructional support. So if they're getting ready to start their welding module, and that is one they're particularly anxious about.
Right. And maybe they came to the training, but it was 5 months ago. Right.
Yep.
Can I get a little brush up?
Absolutely. So we'll come out and we'll lead the class for them to model instruction, or we'll co-teach the class for them, or we'll help them set up, break down, and be over the shoulders of the ones that have the most questions so they can focus and really develop their instruction better.
Right. Well, we're reaching reaching the end of our time, Julie. Anything I haven't asked you about that you always want to make sure you get in there when you talk to people about Go Tec or IALI?
I would say that the thing I would share is Go Tec has really been bringing it kind of as this middle school program. It's a middle school program. And that is absolutely where I think the innovation has taken place. I applaud Go Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, our K-12 divisions, and others that have gone on this risky journey with us. I would say this has probably been the largest investment in equipment for middle schools, and I don't know how long, because again, each of those 52 classrooms, about $130,000 worth of equipment that we're putting in that space. We don't want that equipment to sit there and get dusty, so we're always trying to make sure, again, we're giving teachers the tools that they need. Are they leveraging what they have to support, maker spaces or, again, economic development interests? So Go Tec, again, while a lot of the investment and interest has been in that middle school, it is trying to create space for these conversations about what does your talent pipeline look like? That's a numbers pipeline. But then what are your pathways? And making sure that young people earlier on in their academic career that we're exposing them, they're getting these relevant industry experiences, again, technology enabled, and then we're putting them on the path. So I'd say it's the pathway part that a lot of people forget that this is about. It's not just
it's not just something they're going to be exposed to in middle school. Hopefully it's going to change the way they think about things.
Because now we're like, okay, what's next? 9th and 10th grade. What is happening in 9th and 10th grade? We're getting these young people excited about some of these careers, and then most CTE programs don't start until 11th grade. All right, so now what are we going to do about 9th and 10th grade? What would that look like?
Yeah, and I can imagine the CTE teachers who are doing those 11th grade programs being very excited to have kids coming in with more base knowledge. Well, I want to end on this, and this is, Jake, I understand that even though we're in Danville, you have been, is it nominated for a prize? Have you won a prize? And talk to me about Portsmouth City Schools and why they think you're so great.
Well, so Portsmouth City Schools became a partner a little over 3 years ago. We started doing some of our mobile lab program. And so in addition to the stationary lab here that you're sitting in, we have a 46-foot long Freightliner bus that is a mobile training lab. Fully outfitted with Go Tec equipment, can do all things that we do inside of this training lab. But we took that on the road, took it down to Portsmouth, and did some programming with some summer school students needing some enriching activities, hands-on activities to help them with Math 6 SOLs. That transformed into robotics camps with a partnering agency in Portsmouth City Schools known as Starbase Victory. And Starbase has historically, we've hosted a camp with them the last 3 years, and Starbase nominated and awarded me STEM Innovator of the Year. So I was very, very happy to accept that award. Really is a byproduct of all the work of ILR, even though they put my name to it. The Go Tec program down there.
Sure, but how great is that to be recognized from somebody from Danville, Virginia, being
Absolutely.
recognized by Portsmouth City Schools? So I didn't want to get through this podcast without shining a little light on that. So congratulations on that. And Julie, congratulations on this and everything that's going on here. I just want to, say thank you for making the time for me here. And I hope to come back and see what's coming up, in a year or two, see what new stuff you have to talk about.
Thank you, Tom. You're always welcome to come back.
All right.
Yeah.
For Activated Learning, I'm Tom Landon.
Activated Learning is produced by Blue Ridge PBS in partnership with the Virginia Department of Education
and in collaboration with VISTE, the Virginia Society for Technology and Education.
This podcast is hosted and produced by Tom Landon, Director of Educational Innovation,
with lots of help from graphic and audio designer Jay Prater.
Additional support provided by Andy Depew in our podcast studio.
Our Vice President of Education is Dr. Rose Martin.
Special thanks to Calypso Gilstrap, Associate Director of the Office of Educational Technology and Classroom Innovation
at the Virginia Department of Education.
Our credits are read by students at Westside and Highland Park Elementary Schools in Roanoke, Virginia.
If you like what you hear, subscribe to Activated Learning wherever you get your podcasts.
Or watch the Echo channel at blueridgepbs.org.
Subscribe to the podcast on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Blue Ridge PBS Echo TV.